This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Have you been struggling lately? Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, difficulty with the relationship, or just suffering from self doubt. Now, y'all know there's no shame in my game, and life has been lifing lately. Trying to manage the priorities of being a wife, mom, friend, and full time entrepreneur, it can get overwhelming. If this sounds like you, then BetterHelp wants to help you today. BetterHelp offers licensed therapists who are trained to listen and help you. Talk to a therapist in a private online environment at your convenience. There are over 20,000 therapists in BetterHelp's network, which gives you access to help that may not be available in your area. All you have to do is fill out a questionnaire to assess your specific needs, and then you get matched with a therapist in under 48 hours. How cool is that? Then you schedule secure video and phone sessions. Plus, you can exchange unlimited messages, and everything you share is completely confidential. You can also request a new therapist anytime at no additional charge. Join the 2 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced therapist from BetterHelp. There's a special offer to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast listeners. You get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slang. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/slang, SLAYING. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. You're listening to the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast with Coach Felicia, where we empower Black women to overcome their doubts, fears, and insecurities in order to give birth to their God-given purpose. Join me and sometimes some of my friends on our journey as we remind you that you are not alone. I'm Felicia Wallace, and together we will find our fears and slay them. Hey Slayers, welcome back to another episode of the Slaying Self-Doubt podcast. It's your girl, Coach Felicia. Welcome to all the new Slayers joining the movement. I don't care how you found us, whether it was by way of a guest episode, solo episode, you see me on TikTok, you see me on YouTube, if it is Instagram, wherever. I'm just so glad that you are here. Thank you so much for being here. I hope that while you're here, you get something from it, and whatever you get out of it, my goal is that you would share it with at least 10 people. We have a goal of hitting 100,000 downloads. We are getting to that point. Okay. I can see it. I can see it in the horizon that we are getting close enough to it. So if you listen to this episode and you found it valuable and you find something in it that you like, I know somebody who need to hear this, go ahead and share it with 10 people, and then go to our YouTube page and click subscribe. Okay. So I know it's been a minute. And I think the last time we were talking, I talked about bold moves, right? And then I ghosted y'all again for a couple of weeks. Let me tell you, I don't feel bad about it, okay? I don't feel bad about it because the reason that, so the name of this episode is called Let Go, Let God, right? And I don't think that I recognize that there was some things that God was having me release prior to this kind of epiphany. Okay. And so I think I was struggling with what it was all going to look like, because I'll be honest, I told y'all before, like I felt some type of way that like, yeah, I've been doing this for like ever, you know what I'm saying? And then all of a sudden now here I am acting like I'm new to this, right? And I'm over here like, oh, I don't know, just like doing other stuff versus doing the thing that I know how to do. This right here, I know how to do, right? And so the fact that I was not like staying up with it and keeping up with it was blowing me a little bit, because I was just like, what is the deal, right? But I recognize now that God had to do what he needed to do, okay? Because in the midst of this, bro, I don't even know when the last episode was, right? But this is 266, 265, bro. It has to be at least 3 weeks, okay? Because I don't think that I recorded anything since before October, before Halloween. Yeah, I'm almost positive I didn't. But yeah, I still have grown. Like the podcast has reached 75,000 downloads. And I do believe that prior to that, we were like early 70s. And I wasn't sure. Like I really was like, we might end at like 73. Because if that was like, because I'm thinking to myself, November, December, generally I get like 1,000 downloads a month. Baby, I skipped. Okay. Like I think I had posted that I was at like 72. And then the next time I looked at it, I was at 74. If you look on my Instagram page, I post every time we reach another thousand, like we hit the 1,000 mark. And you don't see a 73 because I ain't see it. And I think it happened like in a matter of days, right? And so some of that has absolutely everything to do with the consistency prior to this point, right? There are episodes, um there are podcasts that are already out there that don't necessarily need me to. I didn't necessarily know until after that happened that I needed to be putting something out every week, right? I have not done any guest episodes since September. So these are all me, right? And some of that was I needed to be able to see for myself that even if you missed a couple of weeks, like people are still listening, people are still tuned in, and the goal that you still have for yourself is going to continue to grow because you have been doing the work. At the same time, you don't have to put all that pressure on yourself, right? And so I think that helped me to be able to see, like, I was like this week when I looked, I'm like, we at 75 again, and I still ain't recording no episode, so I'm like, I ain't trying to push this too far because in December we do the top five episodes of the year. And so that's coming up in a couple of weeks. But either way, I wanted to make sure I got what I needed to say to you all. So couple of things that have changed since then. The Slaying One Day workshops, those have I paused them for November, December because I realized it was like the holiday, right? And I'm like, even for myself, I have family in town, stuff like that. And I was just like, this is just not the time for me to be able to do this. So they'll be back in January. But so you can still get your ticket now if it's something you want to you're interested in investing in the new year. It is already on the website. You can go to slayingselfdoubt.com/events or just click events at the top and you can go ahead and get that. Using the power of your voice eGuide, that is downloadable today. You can go to the website, you get that as well. That is my promise to you that you can record and launch in 30 days. There is a prayer journal that we have that is on Amazon. You can go get that. That's a great, great, great Christmas gift. And then it's hoodie season, y'all. I don't have no hoodie on today because again, the DMV and this whack weather, it's supposed to be 70 degrees today. Like, what? I just anyway. But it's still hoodie season. At least this morning it was, right? But you can get a hoodie, you can get a t-shirt, all of those things. And then if you would like to join the Slayer Society Facebook group, just click in the link in the show notes. And then finally, if you are interested in investing in coaching with me, where I am able to help you find your fits and slay them to be able to get through the stuff that you are working. Matter of fact, let me rewind that, okay? This episode not going to be all over the place, but this definitely has something kind of sort of do with what I wanted to talk about. That I'm going to talk about later. Sorry. I'm gonna pause that about the coaching thing, and I'm gonna tell you why. So one of the things that in these past couple of weeks that I have been just kind of pondering and all this other stuff, the things that kind of came up for me is like about the coaching, right? I know that it's something that I'm supposed to be doing. I know that it's a thing that God will have me to do. However, I found myself recently doing I have applied to a couple of different things, like grants and programs and cohorts and coaching and other stuff to just continue to grow and develop. And I found myself when I was writing out what it is I wanted and where it came to the coaching, like I haven't been very specific, right? And I think initially I was kind of like, well, this is a God thing. And I think I totally shared this with y'all earlier that it was like, it's easier for me to just say, well, I just want to talk to all the people that God want me to talk to. And I don't, and then when nothing happens, it doesn't really seem like it's on me. But now realizing, yes, it's definitely on me to be very clear about what it is. So, I know when people ask, like, well, what is the self doubt coaching? Like, very generically, yes, I can help anybody, but I am working on, my prayer is that over these next couple of weeks before the new year starts, with some other things that I've been doing, that I will be able to really narrow down who it is that I want to help. I feel like I know. But in the meantime, if you feel like led and the Lord is telling you to work with me, please reach out until it gets specific, because once it gets specific, then hey, I'm gonna just have to go that away. Okay. But if you're interested in coaching with me, that information is on the website as well. So a lot of things kind of happen, and since I'm trying to go through it really, really quickly, because it'll I kind of flow. So again, I don't remember when the last episode aired. But I working, just managing a house and a business and working a job is stressful. And I think that I have been neglecting the fact that it has been as stressful as it was. Um, and so I've just been trying to gather all the things that I can gather to try to make things not as stressful for myself, right? And so some of it is like asking for help, some of it is just like being aware of, how I'm feeling on this day and, what I need to do. But also, some of it is about structure and putting systems in place for myself. And so that's something I'm working on too. So if y'all have any tips on how to look, I'm asking y'all if you got any tips on how to balance all of these things, let a sister know, okay? Because I don't, I said before, like when I was doing like small groups, I was doing 3 small groups at a time, working a 25/8 job, being a mom, being a wife, all these different things, still manage the household, that type of stuff. And I was like, I don't know where the strength is that I had to be able to go through that. I know that I was probably missing, because you hear me, I talked about everybody else but myself. And I think this time around, like, I'm really trying to be intentional about putting me first so that I can do all the things. And I just need to figure out a better way to do that. So, I mean, it's coming, but if you have any tips on better balance, please let me know. Let me know. So at the end of October, I went to my son's father's wedding. He got married, and it was so many people. So prior to that, y'all have heard me share enough of our story to know that we are great co-parents. We are great friends. It just wasn't in the cards for us, right? But that day was a full circle moment for me in so many different ways, right? Like, I was super excited for them, and I'm, very, very happy that child, I told him however I needed to get him down this aisle, that's what was gonna happen. Okay. Even if I had to say, Arthur, for him, that's what we was gonna make sure what didn't happen that day. But everything leading up to it, like, my son was happy, all these different things. And so on the day, my husband man himself was just like, how you feel about it? And I was just like, I mean, I feel fine. Like, I've always said the same thing. Like, our son has always been the focal point of our relationship. Once our relationship ended, it was very much so like that was my intention to say, like, this will always be about him going forward. Like that, that's it. And so I was sharing with a friend of mine that on, at the end, my son was his dad's best man. And so he was like, do I have to do they asked if he wanted to do a speech. And so he's like, am I going to do a speech? I was like, I don't know. It's up to you if you're going to do it. And so when the time came, he did get up, and I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember everything, but he basically said, thank you all for joining and celebrating my dad and his wife. I'm not going to say her name just because, I'm very particular about making sure that it's my perspective. But I think I told y'all, if you've been with me from the beginning, I told you part of my discomfort when I first started this podcast was making sure that I never disrespected the people that were a part of my life. So that was my parents, my husband, my kids, and also my son's father. Like, I never wanted whatever my story was to be like weird to him. And so I haven't had that conversation with her. And so I wouldn't do that. But anyway, he says, my dad and his stepmom. And so he's like, Daddy, I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you're happy. And I wouldn't want any other mom other than her. And it made me tear up. His dad teared up. Of course, she teared up. And he was just like, I'm so glad that we're a family. And I love you and I love you both. And that was it. And so later on, I was like, my son was like, are you crying? And I was like, yeah. I said, it's the thing is, I said, 16 years ago, whatever happened between us, we both had to make a choice. For me, I had to make a choice for myself. And being a first time mom, not expecting to be a single mom, being in a situation where I had to make the best decision for myself in my son's future, I made a decision to say that, listen, for you, but like if y'all are not together by the time he is one, that is how it's going to be. And that was a promise I made to myself. The promise I made to myself was that however we were when CJ turned one, that was going to be it. Like, and I just stuck to it because I didn't want the back and forth, not only for myself, but not even for him. Like, I didn't want that for him. So for my son, he's never seen us together, right? So we've always been co-parenting. But one of the struggles for me was, man, my son doesn't have that kind of family niche or whatever have you. And I struggled with whether or not I made, as the years kind of went on, like, did I take anything away? Was it the right decision? I mean, ultimately, I know it was the right decision, but throughout that time, I just didn't know, like, if he would be lacking something. And even though growing up, I would make comments to my husband, like, I know sometimes I feel like I'm overcompensating for certain things because I don't ever want him to feel different, you know what I'm saying? Being, my husband and my youngest son, like, technically we're the family unit, that like if you have blended families, bonus kids, like you understand like the dynamics of it. But I think I've done my absolute best to make sure that everybody was included. He always felt love no matter what, all of that stuff. So after he does the speech, he comes over to my husband and he's like, thanks, Big Ryan. And so and later on I asked, like, what was that about? And he was like, oh, I helped him say what he was going to say. And that took me left too, because I've always told my husband that, like, one of the things that I love about him is that he loved my son before he loved me. I know that for a fact. And he was like, you don't know that. I was like, trust me when I tell you, I know. I know that that's how you got me. It wasn't intentional. Like, I never, put my son on him or anything like that. But he genuinely, like, he gravitated towards him, and he's been his dad as well throughout this entire time, right? And so it was a full circle moment for me, because I was like, I remember in that space where I was struggling with what the decision was to make. And that was the very first time I ever heard God's audible voice. And he was like, trust me. And y'all gonna say whatever y'all want, but y'all already know, if you've been here, you know that this is how it happens and it goes down over here. I was beefing with God, okay? Because at the end of the day, I was like, sir, you knew this was going to happen, and you knew I was going to be a single mom. Like, you could have just we didn't have to, like, I don't even understand. Like, me and the Lord was tussling for quite some time. So at that time when he was like, trust me, I'm like, baby, you the reason why I'm in this situation in the first place. So I'm beefing, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear it. And he says it again, and I'm just like, fine, whatever. Right. And so I believe that from that moment forward, I really did put my trust in him, especially as when it came to how I raised CJ, the boundaries I put in place, the things that I said had to be, all of those stuff, that the way I carried myself as his mom and as, my son's father's co-parent, like I've never called him my baby father. He's never, well, I don't know if he's called me a baby mother. He could have, but he's never been that. He's my son's father. Like, I have respected the situation that we've been in. And I believe that the Lord rewarded me on that day. Was just like, you were so worried about whether or not he wasn't going to feel loved, and whether or not you did something wrong. But because you were obedient, and because you trusted me, I gave him double. right? Like that is literally that, like to me, it was like this is the literal sense of your cup runneth over, like in abundance. Like he has an abundance of people who love him. His family has doubled, right? Maybe even well tripled, right? Quadrupled, right? Maybe I don't know, whatever the number is, but it is more, right? It is more than what I could have imagined when I thought making a decision to do what was best for us at the time was going to give him less. And God showed me on that day that like I got you. I always have, I always will. And, you know, it may have taken 16 years for it to fully manifest, right? But this was another moment for me to add that to my, like, add that to God's track record of like, I trusted him in that moment when I was beefing with him and, you know, really, really upset. And later on, he's like, throughout this entire time, I've been doing exactly what I said I was going to do. And so, you know, and even when it came down to my, you know, my son's, I mean, my husband helping CJ with the speech, like even in that space, like you gonna ask your stepdad to help you write the speech for your day. You know what I mean? Like it's just, it's all these, like the trust, the love. It just, it was a wonderful thing. And for me, it was, it was beautiful. And I was grateful. And I feel like the nervousness, the anxiety, the worry that I've had and held on to for so long immediately dissipated. Like it just was like poof, gone. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way that you know. Like you don't know that you screwed up. Your kids tell you that you screwed up, right? And even still, he may still think I screwed up. I have no idea. But for me, in that moment, I knew I was good, and I knew that like that was the ending of this long drawn out thing, right? So I just say that to say that if you are in a situation right now and you are unsure of how it's going to look, how it's going to pan out, if God is telling you to do something, I am just saying, even if you tussling with him, just do it. He got you. Like he is covering you. He has his hand on you. He remains, right? Like no matter how much you fuss and fight and this, that, and the third, like he got you. And I'm just so grateful that he just continues to have me. So that was my rant. I see this is how this so also just the other reason why I need to be making sure that I do these episodes because that was like 3 weeks ago, right? Like I could have got that out and been done with it. Anyway, then after that, like a couple of weeks later, I had my birthday. Okay. Hey. And I turned 43. All right. And so this is kind of where this episode is going. Okay. And I maybe it started at the wedding because I said I had a release, right? And I just that thing kind of just and it just went away. Okay. And so for my birthday, my husband surprised me with a massage. And when I tell y'all, like I hadn't had a massage since before the pandemic, like a full body massage. And I felt so much anxiety and so much nervousness like going in. Like I don't even know why, like what it was about, like whatever the like the uncomfortability was or the nervousness. Like I literally have no idea what it was. And I just like, you're just going to enjoy it. And you know, kind of let that be the end of it. Baby, let me tell you, like when it was over, I was having like some sciatica pain. They got rid of that. Like I felt so much better, like to the point that when it was over, you know, say you put your robe on and stuff like that. Like I felt like I wanted to cry. Like that was the whatever that's another situation where like I don't think we realize how much our feelings and our emotions and all of that stuff is tied into like our body. So when we have that type of, you know, release, literally, like it just loosened up everything that I was feeling, and I just felt so light and airy, and it was amazing. And so I was on my way home, and I just was like, you know, just at that point, I'm grateful. I'm just thanking God, and he says this is your season of release, and I was just like, okay, like it kind of came to me, and I was just like, I don't want to, but I promise you, the minute I said okay, like you know, release is surrendering, right? But the like you remember different world. She like relax, relate, release, relax, relate, release. That's what episode W Allen was on. And so that's what made me think of it. And I was like, okay, what am I releasing? And so that's what I wanted to talk to you about, that this season of release and really figuring out what you need to release. And so for me, there were three things, y'all already know one of them. Okay. It's the name of the place. Okay. Releasing self-doubt. Um, I for me, I felt like that God, slaying self doubt, God gave me this thing, and I still am walking around with it. And when I say release, I don't mean this in the aspect of like it disappears, because I don't believe that it does. So some people, or I've had many people on here that's like, I think it goes away, blah, blah. I don't think it does. I think and the reason why is because every time something new happens, you're going to have some uncomfortability, some doubt, some anxiety about that thing, right? So, but for me, I want to be able to find a way to let it go and then let God, right? But the only way that you can do that is if you have something to stand on. So at the same time that I'm going to give you something to release, I'm going to share with you scriptures that I'm going to stand on in place of that, right? So the first one is releasing self-doubt. That is that anxiety, that is that fear of me not being enough, that the things that I have, the gifts that God has given me, the abilities that I possess, that they are not enough, that I'm not able to fully live out my purpose in the like who I am, that I have to change who I am. Changing is not like getting better, like exercise and all that stuff. That's you getting better, getting stronger. Changing is like altering who I am to be able to be comfortable in different places, right? Like I don't want to do that. I want to be able to be places and just be me and be confident in who I am. And so I have to release the self doubt that I have about myself and trust in what God is saying. And so Isaiah 41:10 says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. And so that scripture reminds me that God is forever with me. And so the anxiety and the fear that I go into these spaces with is sometimes that I'm by myself, that I'm doing this alone. Even when you have people with you, right? Sometimes you still feel alone. And I think for me, specifically when it comes to like the business, or it comes to trying new things, or sharing how I feel about stuff, or opening up about different things. I think that there's a level of me that's like, oh, I don't want to be shunned, I don't want to be looked at like, girl, what are you talking about, all of those different things. To me, it's a form of the anxiety and the fear is a form of self-doubt, because then I end up having to shrink, right? And this scripture is saying, I will strengthen you and help you. So the times where I feel less than, and the times that I feel like I don't have everything that it takes, or I'm missing something, or I don't meet all the requirements, or what if I don't do this, and what if I don't do that? He is saying, I will hold you up. Like, I got you. You know what I'm saying? It's that trust thing that I was saying earlier. And earlier, like last week or whatever, I think I've shared, but if not, I'm in this cohort for women in ministry and leadership ministry. And so I was sharing with the lady, like, a lot of times, uh, for me, my personal opinion, growing up, like, you felt like the most holiest people were the people who was like read scripture off, like they just be in the middle of a conversation and be like, yes, because because the Lord says da 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 da, and Jeremiah 21 says blah blah blah. And for me, I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, right? And so even now, I'm still like, being in that space is intimidating for me, because I don't feel like I measure up to what I think it's supposed to look like, right? And as much as I am, when I'm in a safe space that I feel comfortable in, as much as I can show up and share my faith and share what it is I believe, and what it is that God has said to me, and I paraphrase almost everything. You can, y'all listen to enough of these that I'll be like, I don't know where it is, I don't know what it say, but it say something like this, right? I feel intimidated being in those spaces because I'm around people who study the Bible and be knowing, and pastors and theologians and ministers, and I just be like, I'm not gonna say nothing, right? And the coach encouraged me that, I don't think that you're lacking anything. Like sometimes people are using those scriptures because they don't have anything else to say. You have something that you need to say. And when God wants to give you a word of his, when he wants to give you a scripture, he would lay it on your heart. Has it ever happened? I said, oh yeah, plenty of times. I mean, I don't know all the words, but I know enough to be like, I think the Bible says something. And she's like, that's enough. Like you don't have to be out here. You need to be yourself. Show up, and like he gave you that opportunity and he put you in that place because you are who you are. He did not put you in that place to be a pastor. He did not put you in that place to be somebody that you weren't. Continue to show up as you are and trust in him that he will give you what you need when you need it, right? So that applies to every area of my life. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Like if he put me in that space, he's giving me the thing, and he's going to, the scripture just reminds you again, like I said, he's going to uphold me with his righteous right hand. So he got me. Don't fear. I am with you. Don't be dismayed. I am your God. Like you, if I'm rocking with you. It's that type of encouragement and embrace that's what I need to embrace. So what I'm doing is releasing my self-doubt and embracing the fact that I know and believe that God is with me. He is for me. He will strengthen me and he will help me. That is my the opposite of what I'm releasing. Okay. So the second thing is expectations. I'm releasing expectations, mine and other people, right? So I say that because I believe that in every situation, business, relational, friendship, intimate, kids, so there's expectations that people put on you, and there's expectations you put on yourself. Some are spoken and some are unspoken, right? And I believe that we adjust who we are and how we are based on those expectations, right? We have a tendency to um do different things because we think that that's what's supposed to happen. So, or because another person shows up a certain type of way, we change how we show up, right? So this is a very, I shared this with him, so he don't care no more anyway. So I was telling my husband, like he's very simple, very very simple person, but there's a lot of things that he hasn't done and he ain't going to do, right? Um, but for me, there's some things that I would like to try doing, right? And so we were doing this question, this like dating question cards, things that I got off of Amazon. I'll show y'all. Um, but anyway, one of the questions was like, what's the side of me you haven't seen? And so when I thought about it, I was like, oh, well, one side is my Scorpio side. You ain't never seen that. Okay. Because that is the definition of when you go low, I go to hell. Okay. Because you don't want that. And then I was like, I don't think you've seen my carefree side. And he was like, well, what do that mean? And so I was like, there's a side of me that like enjoys having fun. And I was like, a lot of you met me once I was a parent. And so you got to grow up, right? But there are places, there are people, like when I hang out with my girls, that I feel more carefree because there's no responsibilities, there's no, pressure, kids around. Like I'm not having to be on, right? And so I'm like, there are things that I want to do that I feel like would be you'd be able to see that, but because it seemed like it might be boring to you or it's not something you into, you don't do. And I was like, as I'm in this season of release, I was like, I have to release the expectation that you know, I can't do this, right? And so I was even talking to my therapist about it, and she was like, well, why you just don't y'all go on date night, why you don't just plan it? And I'm like, I don't know. She was like, well, is he gonna walk out? I was like, no. Well, then do what you want to do then. Like, I don't understand. And so for me, I shared with him, like, there's some things that I would like to do, but I think that because of how you have shown up, it has inadvertently made me show up a little different because we adjust to our partners, right? Like, oh, they don't really like that. Like, it's some stuff I ain't gonna do. He don't club at all. Period. He ain't never been in the club and he ain't gonna go to no club. I would never be like, let's like we would never do that. That would just be awful. But if I wanted to do something that I thought was cute or whatever have it, I think it's fun. I think that he would be like, this is dumb, but I'm gonna do it because you want to do it. And I think you would have a good time, depending on what it is, right? And so that is a part of releasing other people's expectations of me, that I'm expected to adjust to how they are. Same thing with my kids. Like, I've gotten to a place where I'm like, no, do your own laundry. No, do your own stuff. No, I can't make you that. No, I can't. And I know how hard it is. Like, for me, I feel like just I'll do it. Okay. Yeah, maybe I will. Like, yesterday had this whole thing and I was feeling guilty and I was just like, let me just do it. But even though I had my own stuff, and I really had to I have to get to a point where I have to say, I have to stop saying, no, I got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't keep doing that, because what I'm teaching you is that it's okay. I'm teaching you it's okay to walk away out this kitchen when I just literally said I need to put the dishes up, put the food up, and cook and take you somewhere. You ain't want to help me with none of these, you ain't see none of these. You just go lay down and watch YouTube. Got it. Okay. Instead, the expectation needs to be that, like, when you see me doing this stuff, you need to help me. Don't you, I shouldn't be expected to do all of the things. You should help me, right? My own expectations, right? I think that when it comes to the business, I had some expectations that I put on myself that God never placed there, right? I was telling somebody recently that I just started with the podcast, and then I was like, ooh, I can do bop 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 bop. And then that's when stuff got foggy. That's not to say that that's not supposed to happen, but what if it wasn't supposed to happen right now? What if that was supposed to come later, because all I was supposed to do was focus on the podcast? What if I have delayed my blessing because I was doing the most? I mean, I just had to ask myself, like, what if that is the case? It probably is. And, I just said to myself, like, girl, what are you doing? Right. And I also have to release the expectation that, what if this was never supposed to be a business? What if this was just supposed to be me doing exactly what he told me to do, which was to help women slay their self-doubt by just sharing my story on the podcast and sharing other people's stories on the podcast? What if that was all I was supposed to do? But then I go and I just add to the pot, and then I'm mad at him because he ain't talking to me, because he didn't tell me to do this, right? And so there's some ownership that I have to take and putting these expectations on myself, but I want to release them, right? And so the scripture that I'm standing on, that is Proverbs 19:21, that says, in those moments, God humbly reminds me that many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand. In those moments, God humbly reminds me that many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it's the purpose of the Lord that will stand. I can have as many expectations as I want. I can do all the things, mess it all up, and be right back where I am right now. Okay. Because God's purpose and his plan for my life will override all of that, which is why every single time I'd be like, I'm all over the place. And again, still talking about the business. I'm all over the place. It goes right back to the podcast every single time, right back to the podcast, because that is what he told you to do. All that other stuff is cute. It's nice. It's fancy. Okay. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. But you're supposed to be doing this. And the one thing that he told you to do, you have not been doing. Okay. So, in releasing my expectations and others, it is really saying, what is God's purpose for me? What is his plan? And that's checking in with him. And really, that's that, seek first the kingdom of God. Like, that is that first thing. Like, that is that thing to stay in tune with him, to make sure that I'm not going off the rails and I'm adding expectations to myself, which leads me to the last one. I actually wrote these backwards. But as I was sharing, I was like, oh no, this one needs to be last. Releasing control, right? I need to stop being Jesus Jr. That's what I need to stop doing. I know we all, it's funny, but I heard somebody else use this term and I was just like, oh man, that is so me. But I have to release control, right? When it comes to my personal life, it comes to my, like, overall, I have to be able to release things. Yesterday had another situation, a reminder. My son went to a game, my husband took him. And so when it got close to the time that I was like, he should be there. This is what I'm thinking in my brain. He should be there. He should be leaving the house to be there so that when the game is over, he can just come, get in the car or whatever have you. Like, you need to anticipate. And so this morning, so I end up going. Okay, because I ended up saying like, "Well, you want me to go?" I inserted myself. I know I recognize that now. Sorry, no. I inserted myself, and he was like, "I mean, if you can, if you want." That's what he said. You can. And so for me, now I got an attitude, right? Like, you was gonna take him, blah blah blah. You was gonna pick him up, yada yada yada. I go pick him up, come back. I got work to do. So now I'm like, tell him like, I don't want to have this attitude, but I just want to tell you, you should. And he like, I was going to get him, but you gotta always be in control because I wasn't moving when you wanted me to move. You offered. And so I said, okay, if you want to, you can. This doesn't mean that I wasn't going to, but he was like, I gave him instructions. And before, like, it's not like he was late, like, as he's telling me this thing, like, because you dropped him off. I don't know what happened. But here I am saying I'm stressed, saying I have all these things to do, complaining about complaining about all the things, but I'm just gonna keep adding stuff to my plate because I need to be in control. And so yes, I am releasing control and I'm allowing God to be God. He gonna do his job. And I'm allow everybody else to do theirs too. And it doesn't have to be my way. And that's probably gonna be the hardest one that I'm going to be struggling with, but keep me in prayer. The verse that I'm standing on is Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Okay? My path is crooked over here, y'all, because I be okay. If you're watching on YouTube, you just seen me do the snake, basically. I be doing the most. I be doing the most. And so the fact that the Lord gave me release this year for 43 is right on time. Okay. And so I really just wanted to take this time to share with you all the things that I'm releasing and to ask you the question of the episode: what do you need to release? It could be one of these, or it could be something else. But I want you to really think about that, especially as we go into this holiday season, as we go into the end of the year. Like, this is the time where people are reflecting. These are the time where people are, sharing what they're grateful for, thinking about what's going to happen in quarter one, all that other stuff. I want you to not only think about the things that you need to add, but you need to think about the things you need to let go of before you add something else to your plate. And so let's end this year with releasing the things that no longer serve us. Let's end this year with releasing the things that are not any of our business. Okay. Let's release the things that we don't have no control over. I like the Serenity Prayer. Seriously, I did a season where I kept using the Serenity Prayer over and over again, but it really is, grant me the serenity to control the things that I can't. What is it? Oh my gosh, y'all! I knew this was gonna happen. See, because I be trying to tell y'all all the time. Okay, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's all about release right there. To the serenity to change, to accept the things I cannot change. There are things that it's not going to go, like, it's just going to be what it is, and I need to make peace with it, right? But the things that I can't change, I need the courage to be able to do that, and I can have the courage to release these things, and I need to know the difference, because even in this releasing expectations, self-doubt, control, there are some things I'm not going to be able to release because it is the way it is, right? Like, that's just going to be the situation. But there are some things that I am holding on to that I do not need to be holding on to, and I have to be able to let it go and let God and let him do his job. Okay. So If that is you and you believe in the same thing as me, I would encourage you to answer the question, what do you need to release? Go ahead and register for the next Slay in One Day workshop, which is coming up in January. As always, y'all, thank y'all for rocking with me. If you enjoyed this podcast and you find it valuable, please consider making a donation by buying me a coffee. Your support of a small donation of $5 to $10 helps me create new content, grow our audience. Sorry, y'all. Your support of a small donation of $5 to $10 helps me to create new content, grow our audience, and purchase new equipment for live recordings. It's the holidays, y'all already know. Jesus in Therapy. Take charge of your mental health and get 10% off your first month of therapy at betterhelp.com/slang. Make sure you subscribe to the Slayer Nation newsletter. Make sure you share this episode with at least 10 people so that we can hit this 100,000 downloads. Okay. Follow me on Instagram at Slang Self Doubt. Until next week, keep slang, sis. See ya. All right, y'all, that's all for this week. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to share, subscribe, rate, and review. Remember to head over to Facebook and Instagram and follow me at Slang Self Doubt. Oh, wait, don't forget, go to my YouTube channel and watch this episode, and remember to press the subscribe button. Until next week, see ya.